Hey there, guys. This is Fiasco. I hope you're doing well. We're jumping back into Ultimate General Civil War with our new Union Let's Play. And we have just finished the tutorial battle. And so what we're going to do is we need to clean this up and get everything ready for our next fight. So the number one thing you do before you kind of really make any serious decisions is you figure out where are you going. So where's the next major battle? And in this particular instance, that's Bull Run. And by then, I need to be able to field as close to 8-10 units as I can. You can do it up to 10, no problem. But in the immediate short term, what's the next big fight? So in Distress Call or Defend the Supply Depot mission, you can bring up to 8. So while I ultimately need to get to 10, there's no sense in getting there until I'm done with this fight. So let's take a look at this screen for a little bit. These are two kinds of battles in the game. So everything with the wreaths here, this is going to be your major missions, and then these non-wreathed ones are, I think the best term for it is like a side battle, and it's usually some of the engagements that lead up to the major battle of Bull's Run. Now, some of these are fictional, and some of these are based on actual battles and that kind of thing. There's a handful of these side quests that are actual battles, and they're just doing this stuff. So some other pieces of anatomy we need to take a look at here too. This is the enemy's army pool. So in any mission, the AI has a force of approximately 33,000, or in this case, approximately 30,000 they could pull from for the battle. Now, remember, they're not going to have 30,000. They're going to have 5,300 before scaling in this fight. But if you work on attacking the enemy's manpower pool, that can act as, like, they have to pull from that 33,000 to bring to this fight. So the scaling does matter, and we'll get to the definition of scaling here, but some other YouTubers have done a better job than I will of explaining it. Training is an indicator of how good the army is, so 25% indicates that we're going to see a lot of 1-star units, but we're not going to see 2 or 3 stars too terribly often. And armory is kind of a catch-all term for the quality of the weapons that you're going to be seeing in the opposing force. Now, if we click on the report here, we're going to get a couple of these sort of randomly generated messages that you've intercepted, I suppose, in the course of fighting that tell you what's happened. So the Yankees have gained 9,400 recruits to their lines. Now, fresh recruits are great because they're lower training and that kind of thing. And this is the number of missions you've got. This is the general theater of the war that we're talking about. And then it's these screens. So back to the main camp. This is where you control your army. So on the far left here, we've got my first corps, but we're going to eventually get 2, 3, 4, 5 corps, that kind of thing. And then each corps is composed of divisions. Within each division is a number of brigades. At this particular time, I have the ability to recruit up to 4 brigades, and this lock button here would be a 5th brigade, but I don't have a high enough army organization skill. And eventually you can get up to 6 brigades within each division. Each division is commanded by a division commander. He needs to be a colonel or above, and he provides the skill set here provides an efficiency bonus for every unit underneath him. So take a look at Walton. Walton doesn't have any officer, so let's put this the lowest ranking officer I possibly can. All right, so William Leonard is, so notice how that efficiency just jumped from a combination of Major William Leonard and also Colonel Lewis Wagner. And the skills of these officers is basically just this white bar here, and as it fills up, they get promoted. So you're going to see me playing a lot of these battles with the idea that, so take a look at, they're both majors. Loomis and Leonard are both majors. Leonard is barely a major. Leonard has 16 of 100 experience as a major. Loomis, who was with us in the last battle, has 79 of 100 experience as a major. So to me, I'm looking at this and I say, okay, Loomis is likely to get promoted to lieutenant colonel, and then that means that he's got more power or more skill. And the rank is important because it acts as sort of a gate. Every rank is like a level, and every level is a larger unit that these officers can command before they experience that debuff in skill. So here's an example. We have Woods' battery. There's a major in the charge of Woods' battery. Their efficiency right now is currently 35. We have a couple of captains. This is the lowest. Oh, no, we don't. Okay, well, if I had a captain, I would put him in there and we'd try it. Let's try putting a light colonel in there. 35, still 35. Let's put a general in there and see what happens. 35. This is a bad example. I could have sworn we had a captain. No, I guess not. Okay, well, bad example. If you put so the point I'm trying to make is if you put too low-ranked officer in one of these units, they experience an efficiency drop. And higher-ranked officers can command larger units before experiencing the drop, and they can also command smaller units better. And then, so let's take a look at the stats of the unit. So, command is the command of the people running the unit, and I don't really know. I've never seen this particular stat come into play in the battle. Efficiency, like I talked about, is sort of it's a direct buff to just everything else going on around it. Morale is more or less what you think it would be in this game. It's how much damage or abuse that unit can take before it breaks. Stamina is I think I mentioned that before, how much the walking they can do before they've had enough. Firearms and melee are probably pretty self-explanatory. And then you'll notice here these three little shield icons on some of these units, and they represent sort of skill perks. And so when you level a unit up, the unit itself, so in this case Loomis's brigade, not Major Loomis himself, gains access to a perk. In this particular instance, the game has chosen for me discipline training. Now I'll show you how we can get around that because this is a bad perk. But so there's me. This is Fiasco. I also have a perk. Corps commanders gain perks. This is also a bad perk. So we're actually going to get rid of it. William Brewster is a new general. So here's an example. He has the shield just like I did. So I had the shield and I had chosen one of the perks. You put Bill Brewster in Commander First Corps. Notice that, yes, he is a lesser general than I am. He has less skill, but he's not chosen a perk, and he has access to any one of these three choices, and you'll have the same process, basically go down individual brigades as they level up. So the AI had chosen for me strategy, which gives us all a buff to our ammo capacity. Again, if you're intelligent about using your supply wagon, you shouldn't need this. The next option was tactics. This gives you a 5% passive bonus to every unit in the Corps to their speed. I think this is a brilliant perk. Or trainer. This is also a really good one for the Union. Now, as a Confederacy play, in the playthrough for the Confederacy, I chose tactics every time because you were so close to getting your first start. It wasn't that big a deal. In the case of the Union, I'm potentially inclined to pick trainer so that my units get their first perk that much faster. And there's a degree of desire to have some elite troops. So Brewster won't be in command forever. Eventually I'm going to want to take tactics on my Corps, but I'm tempted to take a trainer for him. So we've done that. So we're going to spin up. We're going to put, you basically just, you put your best commanders up top and you work your way down essentially. And so the best commander we have is our General Fiasco. He'll be offering a command and efficiency bonus to all the units underneath him. And then we fire up our next new division. We put Colonel Juan Drake in command. Now you notice that was free because I bought all of them. And so I've already paid for them. I've already got them. If you were to just pull them and go, you would buy them as you went. So going into the next battle, we know we're going to need officers. I've got 1,100 Springfield 42s ready to go. So we're going to do that. You should get used to the idea early on, especially of buying a lot of weapons. It's essentially the question of what can I get for free. So let's take a look at your armory. So this, if this is your army, and we talked about the barracks in the last video, this is your backlog of commanders or possible commanders, and then this is essentially your character sheet of your individual stats, and we'll talk about these two while we're at it. So politics is a buff to recruits and men every battle. So in this instance, I'm getting 7.5% additional money and dudes after every fight that I wouldn't get if I hadn't gotten the points in politics. Economy is a debuff to the cost of guns. So we'll talk about here. Every Springfield I buy costs me $11. More points in economy would make that gun cheaper. Boom. Medicine is an amazing stat. So every time a dude, you take a casualty on the battlefield, medicine at the end of the fight, he might just be a walking wounded. So the dude got shot in the leg. He couldn't fight that battle, but, give him a little bit on a crutch and he's good. That is a huge, huge gain because every person that comes back is a soldier you don't need to re-recruit, retrain, and a gun you don't need to buy. So the benefits to the medicine skill are huge and cannot be understated. I get it. As far as a skill is concerned, it's not sexy, but it pays major dividends over the course of a career. Training is a discount on the cost of hiring new veterans. This is not a trait you want to put a lot of points into early on, unless you view yourself as one who's going to be buying a lot of vets, and so I get that's the case. Army org, you need to reach certain minimum thresholds to get to the size for the next battle. So in this instance, I can only recruit, I think at this point I can recruit 1 corps, 2 divisions, and 4 units. So I couldn't even have 10 units if I wanted. So the next battle, guess where my points going? Army org. Logistics is X% more ammunition for every unit in the battle. This is useful, but you can kind of play around it with smart play. So it's kind of a nice to have, not a need to have. And then we have reconnaissance. I'm probably not going to level up reconnaissance beyond where it's currently at. So 2 points lets you see in the battle screen, lets you see the enemy strength on this screen. 2 points would give us this block of data right here, and then 4 points gives you that blue-red bar at the top of the screen in the actual battle. And so that's why I like Recon 4 at the start of the game, and then I usually never touch it from there on out. So, and then the last bit of consideration is we have the equipment pieces I can buy with reputation. And I think in this instance, going forward, because I'm so concerned about money and getting the maximum number of units, I'm actually going to go ahead and buy the maximum of what I can. Now, I'm not going to assign those. Well, actually, yes, I am going to assign those units in this particular instance. So, I don't like this perk on artillery, and I'm gonna show you how you can get rid of them. You can reform the unit and basically repick the perk, and then I'm gonna leave this one here because I do like the endurance perk on the artillery. The same with Leonard; he's not gonna get reformed, but I've still got to find a way to get rid of 2,300 guys, and we captured a large number of Sharps Model 1855 cavalry carbines, so we're going to go ahead and use those. This is how you create a new unit. You have 4 types of unit, and we'll get into all the usefulness of those over the course of the next coming battles. Cavalry, when you click on the unit, it forms the unit. It automatically picks the best officer for the job, which we'll get to that in a second. Speaking of which, I want to bring him down as well. It's 1,000 guys. I think we can get away with putting... no. Let's put, and then we'll put the major in command of the cavalry. All right, cool. So you come here, you say, I want a new unit. I want a new cavalry unit. It picks the best officer it can. I say, no, that's silly. Major Woods he's easily going to pop and jump up to light colonel, which is fantastic. Now it defaults to the Palmetto, this pistol, because it's just the first gun in the list, essentially. And we pick the gun that we have. You're going to see what do you currently have and what's in the shop. So what do we have and what can we buy? early on, especially, I'm limited to resources. We're going to go ahead and click on this, and then we're going to make the unit big enough, basically, where I'm maximizing my free number of dudes and my free weapons. So this costs just the only thing this costs is for the horses, because I got to buy the horses. But the guys are coming out of this pool, and the weapons are coming out of my armory. So aside from the horses, this unit cost me nothing. And we also got those muskets. So we're going to go ahead and give them to this unit, Leonard. We're going to bump him up basically until he loses the perk. I'm going to apply. And then we're going to bump him up to a nice round number like 1,000. Or, yeah, 1,000. So this is the value of veterans, is they don't degrade the unit experience. There. All right, cool. So doing that freed up a whole bunch of Springfield 1842 muskets, and I think we're just going to have to suck it up and buy some anyway. Yeah. So up to 1,000 men. We'll put a lieutenant colonel in there. And we don't want to spend money on things. I eventually want to give these palmettos to Loomis when I reform him. So we're going to do one more infantry unit, pretty small one. And yeah. Can I even get that small? No, I can't. Okay, well. I don't think this is going to work the way that I want it to. It's tricky. So there's a way that you can... I have 823 guys. And I have the palmettos. Okay, cool. So that does work. So if... essentially, if you deplete the entirety of the man pool and you pull this new unit from that man pool, these guys who were in Loomis's unit a second ago, they keep their experience. And so you get to repick their perk. So the two options for Tier 1 at infantry are discipline training, which gets you morale and efficiency, which, okay, fine, or endurance course. And I can't understate how good this trait is. Stamina is a super important trait that lets you guys fight longer, move faster, do just all kinds of great stuff. They get a plus 5 point bonus efficiency, which is, okay, I mean, it doesn't hurt, right? And then they gain a plus 10% bonus on their speed, which would stack with the core perk if I were to choose that on a later general, and I will on a later general. So we're going to pick endurance. We pretty much always want to pick endurance. And now we've completely depleted our entire man pool. We still got $3,700 left over, but we're going to do it again because I've got these ordnance guns. We're going to do it again with Perrin's unit because I like him. I like his experience. Well, I don't need to do it. I can just give him the gun, can't I? Yeah, I don't need to be silly like that. I can just drop him in there. Cool. So now we've got $3,700. We're going to go ahead and put all of it into supply. My dream is to have supply full as soon as possible. And then the next thing that I'm going to do here, and I'm not going to make you guys watch as I type this crap out, is for the purposes of my Let's Play and the naming convention here, I like to do a little bit of RP. So you'll notice here's Leonard, the unit, and if I change the officer, the name of the unit changes. Now all of a sudden it's Loomis. So it's very hard as you're constantly changing officers around to create any kind of continuity on the unit. And for me and for different players, they get different things out of this game. So you don't have to do this if you're playing, just whatever. Don't worry about it. I like to kind of remember the story. And there's a little bit of a role-playing aspect in this game. And so I like to rename. You can just click on the name here and just start typing. I like to rename the units. And initially, it's going to look pretty stupid. First infantry, second infantry, third infantry, so forth and so on. But as we keep on playing, I'll be pulling units out of divisions, dumping them into new brigades and whatnot all over the place. So around Shiloh, probably, you'll start seeing, this first division will have like 4th infantry, 2nd infantry completely out of order for just because that's the way I clicked it. 2nd artillery, 12th infantry, and like 1st cav. And it'll be like that. And it's just it to me, I don't know, it increases the immersion. So, do it or don't, whatever. I'm not going to bother. It's not going to be part of the video. I'm going to end this up pretty quick here, but you just click here, and then I like to do 1st infantry, which I know is a bit weird because it's a brigade, not a regiment, but whatever, let it go. And then in parens here, I just put a quick sort of note about what weapon they're using. So in this instance, I'll click on palm, and that's it. And then that way, at a quick glance, you have a notation of everything you need to know about that unit. So when you're out there, you're going to see this little icon with the rifle and the shield and that 1 star. It'll tell you like, okay, this is a 1-star unit. And they're going to have palmettos, and I'll update that as I guess they get new guns as the time goes on. And as you go on, you'll kind of remember like, oh, this is 4th infantry. They were really good at the Battle of Bull Run, or they were really good at first at Antietam or something. And I've had this where I've played through the Union campaign, and I got to the very final battle, and I was conquering Richmond and that kind of thing, and it seemed appropriate to me that I had 1st infantry, which for then they were my elite unit. They deserved to be the one that would capture Richmond, and so that's little moments like that just kind of make the game more than it is just on the screen itself. But anyway, I'm kind of rambling. When we come back, we're going to jump into the Battle of Distress Call, and then we're gonna get ready for the first Battle of Bull Run. Distress Call's almost harder than the tutorial if you kind of don't if you don't game the game essentially. So this is Fiasco once again. I hope you're having a wonderful night. Thanks for sticking this out, and I'll see you soon. Fiasco signing out.